I'd rather not disclose my personal information, so I'll just say that I work in healthcare. We receive more than enough unusual patients, but one particular case has been haunting me lately. She was admitted relatively recently, yet rumors about her had already spread throughout the entire hospital. Tired of hearing the same outrageous speculations over and over again, I decided to read her case file myself in hopes of putting the rumors to rest. I sincerely regret doing so. What follows is the statement she gave about the events that eventually brought her here. Honestly, this whole situation is one huge misunderstanding. I'm not the problem. Someone else is responsible for all of this. Someone is trying to drive me insane. I don't belong here. Fine, I'll admit I had problems with my weight. When everything started, I was once again unsuccessfully trying to stick to another diet. We were celebrating Becky getting promoted. The 5 of us went to a restaurant. I can't remember its name. My self-control was hanging by a thread. By the time they brought out the salads, we'd already had a couple of glasses of wine. I decided I'd eat half of mine just to avoid making a scene and ruining Becky's evening. My friends always went crazy whenever they noticed I wasn't eating. Still, I couldn't shake the thought that the fact Becky was the slimmest out of all 5 of us couldn't possibly be unrelated to the fact that she was also the first to get promoted. We'd all graduated from college just over a year ago, and instead of welcoming us with open arms, the real world had slapped us across the face. None of us had found where we truly belonged, except Becky. Of course, I was constantly starving, and I hated myself for it. All that hatred and pain pushed me to my limit, so I didn't even try to stop the waiter when he started sprinkling cheese over my salad. I wanted to throw the damned thing away, or simply refuse to eat it, but I was so hungry. I started eating, seething inside, while pretending everything was fine so the girls wouldn't think I was crazy. Before I'd even finished half of it, I noticed a long black hair wrapped around one of the lettuce leaves. I realized I had almost swallowed it, and a wave of disgust washed over me. Because of the hair, we didn't have to pay for the meal, and my friends didn't even object when I refused to order anything else. Thanks to that disgusting hair, I completely lost my appetite. The entire next day, I felt like I was walking on air. I didn't want to eat. I was calm. Everything felt wonderful. I even thought I discovered a brilliant new method of self-control. My friends didn't think so, or rather, Becky didn't. The next day, I was having lunch with Andra, and the hunger came back with a vengeance. I was exhausted and miserable, so I finally gave in and ordered a large salad. Andra smiled and said something like, "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here for you, blah blah blah." I bet she was in on it. Looking back, her smile seemed suspicious now, almost mocking, as if she already knew what was about to happen. I found a fingernail in my salad, a red acrylic fingernail. Disgusting. Artificial nails are crawling with bacteria. Once again, I didn't have to pay for my meal, and once again, I completely lost my appetite. The shock and revulsion drove away my hunger entirely. On one hand, I felt relieved and strangely energized. I hadn't eaten for almost 2 weeks, and that disgust was helping me lose weight. But I'm not crazy, and I'm not stupid. I knew that sooner or later I'd have to eat something. A couple more days passed, and I ordered a chicken salad while having lunch with Becky. She kept talking and talking about her new job, about how her new boss was kind of flirting with her, or maybe he wasn't. It was impossible to tell. I hated her so much, but on the outside, I acted happy for her. In any case, all of my attention was focused on the salad. I ate, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief, until I bit into something soft on the outside, but hard on the inside. I immediately spat it into my napkin. I still remember Becky gasping, "Oh my God, is that a finger?" I remember staring at it, unable to look away, the napkin trembling in my hand. It was a toe. It had been crushed and slightly charred, but the fragment of bone protruding from it was unmistakable. The cafe where we had been eating was temporarily shut down. No one could explain how a human toe had ended up in the salad. Obviously, none of the waiters or cooks had accidentally dropped one of their toes into it. What I still don't understand is how Becky somehow managed to steal all the attention the scandal generated. Local TV reporters even interviewed her, even though I was the one who had found the toe in my salad. It's absolutely horrifying. People could become seriously ill if they accidentally ate something like this, she said, looking straight into the camera. That was when I began to suspect she had something to do with all of it. Once again, the shock killed my appetite, and I barely felt hungry for almost an entire day. But I knew this couldn't go on forever. I had to eat, and the sooner, the better. Determined not to let Becky torment me anymore, I went to the vending machines in a nearby supermarket. As I looked at the chocolate bars, I felt so weak, and I hated myself for it. But I needed to eat. My willpower had finally run out. A little chocolate would fix everything. I took a bite. It was heavenly, so sweet. Then I noticed something between the wrapper and the chocolate. I peeled the wrapper back a little farther. The moment I realized what I was looking at, a wave of nausea hit me so violently that everything I'd eaten ended up on the floor. It was a piece of skin. Had it been cut off someone? There were even traces of blood. Oh God, but how had Becky managed to do it? How could she possibly have known? Fear and anger overwhelmed me, although part of me also felt relieved that I hadn't really broken my diet after all. In agony, fighting the urge to continue starving myself, I ordered a pizza at a nearby cafe. When it arrived, I noticed a small bulge in the crust. With a feeling of sick desperation, I tore it open. Inside was an eyeball's cornea. Damn Becky. She had to be somewhere nearby, watching me, finding new ways to torment me. Were all my friends helping her? I got into my car and drove as far away as I could. Night fell. I crossed the state line and stopped at a roadside diner I'd never even heard of before. Feeling relieved, I ordered a hamburger from a polite elderly man who was probably the owner. Surely Becky and the others couldn't possibly find me here. Finally, my order arrived on a plate decorated with an elaborate pattern. At that moment, that ordinary hamburger looked like the most delicious, most desirable meal in the world. Even so, part of me was still resisting my hunger. still clinging to my diet, and I still hated myself for wanting to eat. But I had to, otherwise I wouldn't survive. People have to eat. Just before taking the first bite, I stopped. I lifted the top bun and carefully examined the contents of the burger. Everything looked perfectly normal until I moved a slice of tomato. At first, I couldn't tell what I was seeing. Some pinkish gray lump of something. It almost looked like ketchup that had hardened. I lifted it closer to get a better look. Then it hit me. It was a piece of brain. If there had been anything left in my stomach, I would have thrown up all over again. I drove away as fast as I could, taking random turns without thinking. I don't know how Becky and the others keep following me, or how they always know what I'm going to eat next, but I won't let this continue. The candy bar from the gas station, no. The chicken wings at a cafe, another failure. I still couldn't figure out how they were doing it. I even asked a young guy at another cafe to make me a sandwich right in front of me, so I could watch the entire process and make sure there was nothing unusual inside. He handed it to me. I lifted the top slice of bread, and I still remember the expression on the poor boy's face, his shock, his horror, and my own scream. After that, I was overcome by a strange sense of calm. How long had it been since I'd eaten? 3 weeks? 4? I knew I was going to die if I didn't eat. Then a strange thought entered my mind, a strange idea about where I could find real food, a place where even Becky couldn't get to it and ruin it. I found it. I beat them. I found the most delicious salad in the world, and I devoured it, desperately stuffing every bite into my mouth, realizing that I had finally been saved. To be honest, I had expected something completely different back then, but now I understand. When I cracked open his skull with a crowbar, I couldn't believe my eyes. He collapsed, and chicken salad spilled out of his head. Fresh, crisp, green lettuce, juicy chunks of tender chicken, and the dressing. That dressing was to die for. All that time, I'd been finding pieces of people in my food, no matter where I ordered it, so it only made sense that the only place left where I could find something actually edible was inside people. We have to feed her intravenously. The mere sight of food sends her into hysterics. This entire case has made me reflect on how modern advertising, movies, and everything else we see around us impose completely unrealistic standards of beauty, and how rarely we even try to resist them. Although she isn't the strangest patient in the hospital, she caught my attention because of her remarkable ability to manipulate the orderlies. Apparently, and no one has ever figured out exactly how she somehow convinced one of them to hide body parts in her meals every time we tried to feed her normally. At least, that's the only rational explanation I can come up with for this phenomena. I've since read the files of several other patients. There's definitely something very strange going on in this hospital.